Good day everyone, my name is Rolanda Harrigan and in today's presentation, I would be addressing the topic of authentic assessment in support of the moot on why it is the only appropriate method of assessment to be used with young children. Let's get started. Before going into details, I would like to note that an assessment has been defined as a process of gathering information about a child, reviewing the information, and then using the information to plan educational activities that are at a level the child can understand and is able to learn from. An assessment can provide information that can be deemed critical to children's growth and development. Perhaps many of us have never heard of the term before, but as an early years educator, this term should pique your interest. Authentic assessment can be described as a strategy used by educators to conduct evaluations of children's abilities in real-world perspectives, and it can be used daily in the classroom to assess how children interact with each other in learning centers and in play scenarios. Some people may even refer to it as the alternative, performance, or direct assessment. So it is therefore a tool that is used to measure children's learned concepts, skills, and their progress. The focus of the assessment is placed on children's creativity as well as their analytical, communication, and writing skills. So in other words, it assesses their ability to work together with their peers, incorporate what they have learned, as well as their ability to express themselves orally or in print. According to Educator Wiggins, assessment is authentic when we directly examine student performance on worthy intellectual tasks, and as such, early childhood professionals have agreed that authentic assessment is the best practice. In order for us to justify why authentic assessment is the only appropriate method of evaluation, don't you agree that it is important to highlight the other method of assessment? I would like to highlight to you the traditional, also known as the standardized method, where everything about children's evaluation is essentially standard and the same. Philosophers in the study of children such as Jean Piaget and Lev Vygotsky theorized that children are unique and learn at different speeds, which means that no child is the same. With this in mind, although traditional assessment may be effective to an extent, it is believed by many educators that this style of evaluation does not test many skills and abilities that children require to be successful. This evaluation is based on children's memorization, where all the children in the class endure identical and standard testing, and due to this, it does not support children's different learning styles and abilities. Consequently, traditional assessment is predominantly designed for children who are at a primary school level in the Caribbean, of course, and is not appropriate to evaluate children in the early childhood setting. The question still stands. Why is authentic assessment believed to be the only appropriate method to evaluate children? Colleagues, this question has been already answered by the foregoing statement that was made. However, to come to this conclusion, one would also need to compare this method of assessment to the other method in order to support the moot with solid facts. The first argument pertains to children and the fact that authentic assessment allows them to apply their skills and knowledge within a perspective that more closely resembles problem solving and knowledge application in most tasks. This is contrary to traditional assessment where there is a lack of context, which means that children are not provided with the opportunity to exhibit their reasoning skills regardless of the lack of knowledge about a particular subject matter. What this means is that authentic assessment deals with real-life situations that children can relate to, unlike traditional assessment. Children are required to develop their own ideas and responses instead of them being taught what is deemed most appropriate. Authentic assessment is developed to include children's involvement where they play an active role in their self-evaluation and setting of goals. This is an important aspect of the assessment since children are more inclined to exhibit their knowledge and understanding of information communicated to them, unlike the traditional assessment, which restricts them from demonstrating what they have learned and how well they understand what they have learned. In addition, contrasting to traditional assessment, focus is placed on identifying children's developmental strengths and progress instead of their weaknesses. Authentic assessment is not only described as an evaluation, but is also considered to be a vehicle for learning without disruption in the early childhood setting, since it serves to inform and teach the learning process in a way that allows teachers to also give feedback to the children on their learning. For instance, teachers can ask children open-ended questions about what they are doing at a current moment while they are at play. Colleagues, according to McAfee and Leong 2013, when teachers are observing children in order to learn more about their development, the best context is somewhere familiar and authentic, such as the children's classroom within their daily routine. This method can assist teachers in creating their own curriculum, which would be most suitable for children within the learning environment. For instance, it encourages teachers to create activities that children can engage in and learn, and in turn, they, the teachers, are provided with a clear picture of how children are learning, the rate of their progress, as well as be able to detect whether children may potentially have learning disabilities. They are therefore furnished with information about their students' strengths, weaknesses, and needs. Thus, authentic assessment assists them in modifying instruction towards enriched learning and teaching, unlike the traditional assessment, which restricts teachers from obtaining an accurate insight to children's knowledge, their abilities, and how best they can execute what they have already learned. According to Mueller 2016, with authentic assessment, teachers are encouraged to teach to the test, where children will be better able to develop understanding and skills that are needed to perform well on tasks. It is exceptionally imperative that teachers know how well children are performing, and as such, they need to observe the efficiency of their teaching methods and be able to identify children's individual learning problems. Hence, authentic assessment offers them with the chance to do so rather than be constrained by a narrow viewpoint of children's knowledge and skills. Additionally, while traditional assessment separates the aspect of teaching and learning from the assessment, authentic assessment integrates the three. By using the raise hand icon or responding in the comment section on the left of the screen, how many of you remember your parents playing an integral part in your early years education? Personally, I have encountered instances where my mother will come into my school and have conversations with the teachers and ask them questions relating to my progress, and she would implement suggestions that were made to her to best help me with my academic development. I'm sharing this with you because statistics have shown that parents' involvement in their children's education can greatly assist with their development. Authentic assessment may be considered to be one of the best tools for teachers to share with parents, who will be able to keep track of their children's progress at school whilst gaining an understanding of their strengths and challenges, and plan how they themselves can help extend learning into their homes. This method of assessment also provides a common ground between educators and parents to collaborate on approaches that could support children's holistic development. I would like us to now take a look at the diagram and take note of the examples listed below authentic and traditional assessment. Does anyone notice anything? Contrarily to the authentic assessment, the traditional assessment requires children to undergo a plethora of tests just to prove that they are developing and displaying holistic growth. However, in authentic assessment, children are able to be in a natural state where they can engage in activities that promote their developmental skills and learning. My dear colleagues and e-tutor, this brings us to the end of my presentation. Based on the moot, authentic assessment is the only appropriate method of assessment to be used with young children. Thank you for your attention and do have a wonderful evening.